Hello, all. Welcome back to New Chapters. My name is Sarah, and if this is your first time joining me, I just want to say thank you for stopping by for this chapter of my life. I'm a hobby hopper, so if this isn't the content you usually watch me for, I hope you enjoy this hobby as well and will stick around for today's video. Today, we're going to be doing another WIP and chat. WIP just stands for Work in Progress, it's WIP. I'm going to be working on my Enablers Outpost Winter Girl kit again today. And I've changed my mic location, so hopefully it's a little bit easier. You're not getting as much like t-shirt ruffling and stuff like that today, but it might make me sound a little bit further away. I'm not sure yet. Also, a heads up, it is pretty windy outside, and the unit that I live in has just these permanent Christmas lights that stay on it, and they are smacking my office wall right now occasionally when it gets pretty gusty. So hopefully you guys won't be able to hear that. My mic will kind of help dilute that noise, and hopefully you guys won't even know what I'm talking about. But just in case, I wanted to let you guys know. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. So today, as I said, I'm using the Enablers Outpost Winter Girl kit. I am once again using this Dreamer Designs tweezers and my Firefly diamond art diamond painting tray here. Again, since I'm using the tweezers, I'm just using their standard base for this particular tray, but it does come with 2 additional grids as well if you want to single place or multi-place using some designated grid lines. So we'll go ahead and get my next section revealed here. Okay. Gonna stop right before I get to that line of H's, which is the crystal, so that I can save that for the next time I'm doing a diamond painting. Let's see here. All right, so while we're kind of getting started, how are you guys doing? What's going on in your lives this week? How have things been going? Any updates to anything that you might have shared with me last week, or any new things that are going on that you would like to share about? Please let me know about those down in the comments below. I would love to get to chat with you guys a little bit down there and try to help you through whatever you might be going through in life, whether it's good or bad or otherwise, or at least be able to offer you some support if nothing else. In terms of what's going on with me, last week we had talked about my in-person job interview, and I wasn't quite sure how that went. So I told you guys I would update you on how that went and where I'm at with the job interview process for the mental health agency that I applied to. So unfortunately, they did call me back and they let me know that I was one of their top candidates, but they decided to go with somebody else for the position, which stinks because obviously being a top candidate doesn't mean much of anything if you're not the one getting the job or if there's not multiple positions available. So it is unfortunate that the position that I applied for that I was really looking forward to potentially being able to help spearhead with that agency. Man, I keep dropping these today. It is unfortunate that they did not go ahead and select me as their top candidate, but it is what it is. I can't dwell on it or anything like that. So I had told you guys I had applied also to a part-time position as like an educational support role for an agency that's local to me. And they had emailed me about setting up an interview time. So I did set up the virtual interview for them since their like supervisor was out sick this past week. We had to do a virtual interview, which was fine. And unfortunately, or I guess not unfortunately, it was unfortunate that she was out, is where I was going with that. But we did have my virtual interview, and I think it went pretty well. Although perhaps a little too well, so that might be a problem on the flip side of this all, is that basically they were like, you are aware this is a part-time position, right? And like, we would love to have you because you are super overly qualified for this role, was kind of the vibe that I got from that interaction that we had. So I think that went well, but they did inform me while I was in my interview that they had a full-time position that's basically like the supervisor role of the role I was applying to, position that's open as well. So I went ahead and applied to that. They kind of told me that applying to that one wouldn't impact how things were going with the job that I had already interviewed with them for. It wouldn't change anything about my candidacy or my ability to get the job. And if they did bring me on for the part time role, they said that would be totally fine to go ahead and transition into the full time role. That wouldn't be a problem at all if I did end up landing the full time role after getting a part time role with them. So I could have been misinterpreting a little bit of what was being said, but it sounded very much like they were considering me to be one of their top candidates for that role as well. And it's my understanding that they have 3 open roles for the part time and for the full time position. So haven't heard anything back quite yet, but I mean, I just applied to the supervisor position, so I haven't heard back from them yet, but I'm hoping um, it'll go okay and I'll get a good response from them, at least to do an interview. The ladies that I interviewed with virtually for the part time position were like, yep, we're going to go ahead. And if you want to do this, just let us know and we will forward your name and information on to the people in charge of hiring for the other position, the full time one. So they seem to think I was a good candidate. So hopefully that gives me a good shot at getting the job, the full time job, even. And hopefully, if nothing else, I can get the part time job. I mean, right now, that was kind of something I had mentioned to them while we were talking about all of like, this is a part time position, it's not a full time position. Is I'm kind of in a spot right now where like I just need a job. It doesn't really matter, truthfully, if it's a full time or a part time position. I mean, obviously, I would love to have a full time position if I could get one, but like if a part time position is offered to me, I'm not going to turn it down right now, with the situation that I'm in and just needing to secure some steady income, now that I've been out of work for, man, almost 2 months now, running out of my kind of emergency funds and need to get some sort of employment going. So if I'm only offered the part-time position, that's okay. It's not ideal. I did learn that the pay wasn't quite as high as I thought it was, and the hours, I thought I read somewhere that it was like 20 hours a week, but I guess it's only 15 hours a week. And they do pay though for like some additional time for you to like prep and stuff for the program and get your materials and stuff like that ready, kind of review everything that the supervisor puts together for their um, like subordinates to teach. So not a great amount of hours. And I learned that since it's in conjunction with like a school, um, I wasn't sure how like summer and stuff like that worked. And the answer to that is that they don't have the position basically in summertime. So I think they said like for winter break, spring break, and summer break, basically you don't have a job. So on top of the fact that the pay was not quite as high as I thought it was, plus the hours aren't quite as many as I thought they were, and then not actually having the employment year round, I was kind of like, dang it, this wasn't quite what I was hoping for. But again, at this point, I mean, I've applied to other places. I haven't really gotten a lot of interviews or feedback from people, or agencies. So at this point, I'm kind of just going to take what I can get. And I mean, I think it's a job that I'll enjoy. Um, Probably more so, honestly, than the full time role, who's the supervisor over the role that I applied to for the part time position. Um, but I mean, I think I'd be competent at either role. But the part time position is actually the like hands on interacting with people a little more often than like the supervisor does, like in terms of like the clientele. And that's kind of where my heart's at. Like I prefer to work with the clientele that I'm working with, versus like supervising those that are working with the clientele that I'm working with. But, again, when I'm searching for a job, I kind of can't be too choosy right now about what I take. So we'll see how that goes. I mean, it seemed like if the people who are currently at the agency think that I would be a good fit for their full time position that they have open, I mean, to me, that sounds like I'd be a good fit. and that it probably would not be too difficult for me to secure that position as long as I, step forward on the right foot with um, the other supervisors who would be filling the role, the full time role, I mean. So that all seems like good signs to me, but again, we'll see. I haven't heard anything from them yet, so hopefully I find out about that soon. And then I don't think we've talked about the other job that I found that I applied to. The same day that I had my virtual interview, I found a job at a local library. And truthfully, like, again, because I've been trying to find something that has a little bit of untraditional working hours, something that's a little bit more start time of late afternoon, early evening, if I can get that. I'm sorry, late morning, early afternoon hours start time, if I can get something like that. Um, I went ahead and I've been looking at like library positions because I figure that's something that for the most part, most of my libraries, open not until 9, 10, 11 o'clock, depending on the day. So I thought that would be a good position to try to, or a good place to try to apply to. Um, and I mean, one of the libraries that's pretty local to me always touts they're like, we're one of the best places to work in this town. So, that would be probably not the worst place to work based on their stats. So I can't say for certain that that would actually be a good place to work, but I believe their data. Um, but I I've applied for multiple positions with them over the last couple of months, and every time they do respond, but they're always like, "We're not even going to interview you." Like, and I mean, to be fair, it's not like I have like a library sciences degree or any sort of. I have some volunteer experience at libraries, but I don't have any like work experience in a library. So like, I get that I'm probably not actually a top candidate for any of the library positions, which is fine. But they had a position that's geared towards like educating adults in the community. And to be honest, I'm not 100% certain if it's more of a like a role where you're working with community agencies to bring in like educational things for the patrons who are wanting to learn about certain stuff, or if you're actually the one who's like teaching to different like adult students basically in the library programs. But that was something that I was like, I absolutely can do that role. That's something that I'm definitely qualified for, even if I don't have like a library sciences degree. I mean, that's basically what I've been doing with people in law enforcement populations, or not law enforcement populations, but like involved with law enforcement in the criminal justice system. I mean, I've been working with people who have been, in our local jail, um, doing different sorts of educational and skill building programs with them, at my most recent job. And then before that, I was a probation officer. So I definitely have the ability to like work with adult clientele and work on, whatever it is, whether it's GED completion or like getting into like technical colleges or community colleges or 4-year universities, or connecting to those resources that can help them complete those things. Or if it's more about like the social emotional skills, I definitely can teach those. If it's more about just learning about community resources and partnerships in the community, I'm absolutely capable of connecting people to those agencies or to get those agencies to come and like give presentations. So I did put my application in for that library position, and I'm hopeful about that because I think that that's definitely, I mean, it's certainly the first job at the library that I've applied to that actually is something that I could foresee myself being able to do. Oh man, I have a little straggler there. I didn't even see that guy fall out. um, Luckily he was up on his side. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have even noticed. But yeah, so that's a position that I'm hoping to hear back from. I haven't heard back from them yet, and honestly, I'm a little surprised that I haven't gotten anything back from them. Normally, when I apply to the library, they're like, "We don't want you," within like a couple of days. So the fact that it's been, a few days beyond that, um, Man, I really threw those guys everywhere. There's another one on my table. But the fact that I haven't heard back from them at all yet gives me like maybe the tiniest bit of hope that maybe they're actually going to consider me as a candidate. But we'll see. Again, I'm I'm trying to find something, man. I really ideally would like to be able to do something with content creation and make that a full-time income, but it's definitely not something that's going to happen overnight. And I'm certainly going to run out of my emergency funds in my like savings money before that point. And I would like to, you know, perhaps not completely zero out all of my bank accounts in this venture, trying to find a job that is better for my mental health and for like my physical health and kind of what my body prefers on this afternoon to evening shift sort of desired schedule that I have. But I don't know. Again, it's such a vicious cycle where like you get hopeful and you feel good about it and then it just knocks you while you're already down. And it's hard to keep that motivation going when you're really truthfully trying to get a job and everything is like, no thank you, we think somebody else is better or you're just not quite good enough. And it stinks too because like I don't know, perhaps it's just about growing up in the participation trophy generation, as people like to refer to Gen Z sometimes. Maybe I'm just so much like, oh man, if I tried, like I should get something. And that's not really how I feel about it, but sometimes that's how I feel like I sound when I talk about this stuff because it's just so like, I don't think everyone deserves everything, but it really sucks after months of trying to get a job. And no matter what you're applying to, every single place is like, we're good. We don't want you. And it's just hard to know, especially when like I mean, it's not like I don't change up things. Like I mean, I tailor my resume and my cover letter to every single position that I apply to. Like I'm not just using a standard cookie cutter response to people. And it sucks that I'm putting in so much time and effort. I mean, I think I mentioned this in a previous Whoop Chat, but like when I was at my previous job, I like was burnt out and stressed out and was already struggling with just the day to day of being in my job. And then on top of that, I would go home and apply to new jobs that weren't going anywhere. But it was like putting in another 40 hours on top of my 40-hour job that was already draining me just to be told, well, to be honest with you, to be told nothing from most agencies. So I don't know. It's been a rough time here trying to find some employment over the last couple of months. But I don't know. I'm also a big believer that like things happen for a reason and everything will work out. So whatever ends up being the resolution, I guess is the resolution that was supposed to happen all along. Maybe it just took me a little while longer to get there than it was supposed to, or maybe this is the amount of time it's supposed to take so that I can, focus on building up YouTube and having kind of a steady schedule going before I start a full-time job on top of this. So I don't know. We'll have to see. But that is kind of my job update. Um, Man, I don't know what else to talk to you guys about. Oh yeah, I guess I'll tell you about the windows. We talked about windows last week, and I told you that our landlord had intended to get new windows into our place um, before we moved in, but the windows had to be like specialty ordered. They weren't like a normal size. They had to get custom made, so they were not in before we moved in. Like the custom order windows weren't in, and then the people that they had, set up to. Oh dang it, lost that one. I'll have to find it after I'm done filming. Um, the people that they had hired to complete the windows like backed out on them. So when we were supposed to get new windows in like November-ish, we never did. So they did come in this week and they replaced our windows. We had like, I mean, technically it's like 6 windows because there's 2 giant windows that make one window. But they were individual like window pieces that they had to put together. So they had 6 windows that they had to replace. And they did that for the most part in one day. They got here about 9 a.m. and then they worked until about like 4:30 or so, and then they came back the next day to finish up the trim on the outside of two of the windows on the front of our unit. They were only here for about an hour though. That second day, I think they just didn't have enough like wood to finish it up, so they had to go get some more wood to be able to finish off the windows, the framing and stuff on the windows on the front of the unit. But guys, I am so excited that we have new windows. I have already been enjoying the last few days of nice weather before it's supposed to get colder again, and I have been ecstatic that I've been able to open up the windows and not have to worry too much about, am I going to be able to close this when I am done using the window today? So that has been amazing. Um, I will say the one thing that I shouldn't say that I didn't account for. I don't know if anybody else even thought about this or considered this. So when we were getting the windows, or when we were told that the windows were going to be getting installed on Wednesday, we were told, just move all your furniture kind of just away from the windows so that they can access the windows. I was like, okay. So we kind of moved everything away from the windows, but we have furniture in our different rooms, right? So there's stuff in there. So it was kind of difficult, first off, to rearrange everything without it just being in the hallway. And I didn't know anything about the window changing process. So I was like, I don't know whether the windows are just going to be like put in from the outside or if they're going to need to be able to drag a window through this whole hallway or what. So since I didn't know exactly what it looked like, I was trying not to not leave space for a window if that was something that was necessary to be able to access from the inside. So we moved stuff out of the way. I had to get up that morning before they showed up, but after my partner had left, and move our bed out of the way because our bed sits right in front of a window. So luckily I was able to finagle that into the hallway on my own, but I was a little concerned that with the memory foam mattress that doesn't have any structure on the inside, that I was going to basically get stuck underneath the mattress and not be able to move it into the hallway fully. But I did manage to get it done, and before they showed up, so that was nice. But it was so incredibly windy. There were 30 to 35 mile per hour wind gusts on the day that we had the windows installed. And so the thing that I hadn't considered, oh, somebody's got their motorcycle going. Hold on, guys. I'll be right back. All right. I think maybe they drove off. I'm not 100%. I don't mind that our neighbor has their motorcycle, but man, when they start it up and they get ready to leave their house, it is so loud. And I think somebody's now mowing their lawn or something too. I don't know. I'm hearing some other noise outside. So hopefully you guys can't hear that. I'm getting close to wrapping up here anyway. So hopefully there's not too much noise and I can get through this last little bit of story. But yeah, basically, when they did the windows, it was super windy outside. And so, even though they were hanging up a tarp over the opening of the window and using painter's tape and stuff to seal it off so that they were trying to eliminate as much dust and debris and whatnot as possible. It didn't matter. I mean, that tarp was getting whipped off the wall. And there was nothing that anybody could do about it. So when it was super gusty, I mean, it looked like it had snowed inside of our unit. And the worst part was it wasn't even just by the windows. It was the worst by the windows. It was the most concentrated there. But literally every single room in our unit that wasn't, the bathrooms that they didn't even come near touching from replacing the windows, that was the only place in the whole unit that did not have dust everywhere. Because part of the problem too, so maybe this made it worse, and maybe if it wasn't the case, they could have avoided creating as much dust as they did. But my understanding from what they said was that even though like the custom windows were made to fit the space of the window, they were still too big for the hole that was left by the windows that they took out. So they ended up having to like cut into some of the wood frame. So not only was there just like dust and debris and stuff from outside and just having work done and all of that, but they literally had to like saw part of the window frame. So all of that dust, all of that like wood shaving just flew inside. And it was one of those things that like I'm like, I know these people are professionals, they're doing their job, like they don't need me to do anything, but like my anxiety was so high, like I just was like running around like an anxious little chicken, um like trying not to get in the way but also like panicking about like, oh my gosh. And like in our bedroom, we have some nightstands, and like we both had like a cup of water next to the side of our bed on both of the nightstands, and like the cups were just covered in a layer of sawdust and it was so gross, and I was like, oh no. I was like, this is going to be a nightmare to try to clean up. And I was like, and it's not like I can just leave it for tomorrow and be like, well, I'll just deal with this in a couple of days or whatever and like let my anxiety pare down. It was like, no, we got to kind of reset everything because otherwise we can't move around our unit very easily, and we definitely can't go to sleep without me vacuuming up this whole pile of snow sawdust that's on our bed frame now. So it was definitely a little anxiety inducing and was not my favorite thing in the world. But I am very happy about the results, and truthfully, at the end of the day, I would happily put up with a little bit more sawdust again, and it cleaned up super easy. So that was the other thing. If it had been harder to clean up, I probably would have been a lot more upset about it. But truthfully, it all vacuumed up really nicely. So it wasn't too bad. The biggest problem was because they had to cut into the house to like install the windows, like the bigger windows. They had to also take the blind fixtures down, and like completely remove the like little hooks that the blinds pop into, and they did not replace them. I think there was a little bit of a misunderstanding. I thought they had said that like they weren't going to fit after they put them, like after they put the windows in. But then I kind of went up and was testing them after they had all wrapped up, and I was like, oh, I think these will actually fit just fine. Like they'll be right on the edge, but I think there's still enough clearance for us to screw these back into the wall. Well, so we bought some screws because there were a couple screws that went missing, and I didn't really think about I have like an electric screwdriver that my family got me one year for like my birthday or Christmas that came with like a tool kit they bought me when I first moved out on my own. And so I've had that thing for a couple years, and I don't use it very often, but I was like, this little, we've got something. We can put these into the wooden frame and no problem. Like we can hang these up by ourselves. Well, when my partner went to use our little electric screwdriver to hang them up, it did not even sort of make a dent in the wood frame. So we quickly learned that unfortunately we do not have the tools required to hang the curtains back, or not the curtains, the blinds back up ourselves. So I had to text our landlord and be like, hey, just so you know, they had to take the blinds down and they didn't put them back up. And like, it would be really great if we could get somebody out here to put the blinds back up for us because we don't have the tools to do it ourselves. And he was like, okay, no problem. I'll let like maintenance know, and I'll get them out to you guys. So unfortunately, by the time I texted him, it was like end of business Friday. So we probably won't hear about whether or not the blinds will get replaced or rehung back up for us until Monday at the earliest, would be my guess, which is unfortunate because it's really kind of eerie to have two giant, like open, basically windows that people can just see straight into your unit. When, especially like at night, like, I mean, the sun sucks during the day when it's just blinding at like sunset, but it's a lot creepier when it's night and you're like, I have a light on, and if somebody's outside right now or even looking from their own house into ours, like they can see exactly what's going on in here. And it's just not that you can't like carry clothes to a different room that still does have blinds or whatever. But my partner's bathroom is upstairs in that room, and my closet is upstairs in that room that doesn't have blinds right now. So it's like, ugh, like it's not just the normal, like I can kind of walk around and do what I need to do and like not worry about how clothed or unclothed I am, because I mean, I like to be comfortable at night when I'm sleeping and whatnot. So like if I'm wearing a little less to bed, like I want to not have to worry about, well, now I got to find a way to cover myself in a blanket so I can walk to my closet so I can put my outfit on for the day. I don't know. I know it's a first world problem and hopefully it gets resolved soon, but it has been an unexpected little bit of frustration since the windows got replaced. But again, overall, I'm really happy with having the new windows and how they look and everything like that. So they do have to still come back. Sometime in the next couple of weeks, they're going to hire somebody else to come in and like finish the windows on the outside so that they're not just like 2x4 planks of wood on the front, like bordering the windows. I think they're going to come in and like trim them out and paint them and stuff like that. But overall, they're pretty much done and it looks really, really nice. So I am excited to have those done and that we can use our windows now. But I'm going to go ahead and place this in down here at the bottom because I believe it's the only one that I have unveiled currently. But I think that's probably where I am going to end it for today. Thank you guys again so much for watching today's video. If you're looking for more content related to this chapter of my life, please check out my diamond painting playlist. They're going to be linked in the video. You should be able to find them in the like description box down below, or just below the description box, I mean, if you're watching it like on your phone. If you did like this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more content about this chapter and others. Please leave any comments or questions you have down below. As I said, tell me what's going on in your guys' lives. I'd love to be able to support you guys in any way that I can on like an emotional level. Hopefully you guys are able to return the favor for me if I am in a spot where I need that, especially as I continue down this unsuccessful job hunt. But I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.